Hello and welcome to Podtoid. We are your hosts. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 405. It feels very good to be back. We had 2 weeks off for E3 and some moving business, but now the whole gang is here as we come together to celebrate Dan's birthday. Happy birthday, Dan.
No, we're bringing this up on Podtoid even. It's me. I'm slowly creeping towards my 30s, 27 now, getting close.
You're a baby.
Cry me a river.
Has anyone asked you, how does it feel to be 27 yet? As if it feels vastly different from 26?
No, and I'll tell them it's terrible.
What is so terrible about being fucking 27? Come on.
Because it's almost near 30.
Oh, eat a dick. All right, so the 27 Club, consider this. When I turned 27, which was just minutes ago, truly, I thought like, okay, Cobain, Hendrix, Joplin, there's another few I'm leaving out.
Winehouse.
I forgot Winehouse. And I thought like, they'd have done all that by 27. And then I think I ate another handful of Cheez-Its and just kind of sighed.
That's my exact reaction last night. So
yeah, that's generally what I do anytime I hear someone who is my age is way more successful than me. Because as you guys know, I hate people who are more successful than me.
As you should.
Yeah. So like hearing that Robert Pattinson is going to be Batman and he's 32. Oh, fuck him. So happy birthday, Dan. And in honor of your birthday, we're actually going to try with today's show. And we have a really good show for you guys today. We're going to recap some of the games from E3 that we loved. We're going to talk Crash Team Racing, some Stalker, some Harry Potter, Final Fantasy XIV, and more. But before we get into that, we're going to start today's show off with a story out of Charlotte's neck of the woods. Charlotte, you probably heard about this. So we're going to go to Berlin, where people were out enjoying their day, taking a pleasure cruise on the Spree River. This pleasure cruise, pretty popular thing to do in Europe, not so much here in America. But a boat of people was passing under the, and I hope I pronounce this right, Janowitz Bridge, which is a very low bridge, when some of them started to feel a drizzle. Unfortunately for them, it was not rain. The drizzle they felt was a dude pissing off the side of the bridge. Contrary to what I thought, not all Germans are into water sports. And when 4 of them realized what was happening, they literally jumped out of their seats. Now, as I said earlier, the Janowitz Bridge is a very low bridge. So when they jumped, they didn't have to go that high to hit their heads on the bottom side of the bridge.
Wow.
Yeah. 4 of them were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No word yet on what's going to happen to the pisser. This just sounds like a Three Stooges sequence to me, like literally jumping out of your seat and then smacking your head on the bottom of a bridge.
I was going to say, what Three Stooges did you watch where everyone was pissing on each other?
It's Three Stooges by way of Judd Apatow 10 years ago.
That's true.
That's like my new favorite quote. No word yet on what is happening to the pisser.
7 news stories I read on this thing. Not one of them mentioned that like the guy pissing off the side is going to be in trouble or anything.
Well, that sounds like he got away. Then.
It's Berlin.
I was going to say that sounds like he got away.
Yeah, it could be. Just pissed and ran. Although I got to say, these pleasure cruise people should be lucky that it was just one guy and not like, I don't know, Dave Matthews Band tour bus dumping their shit off the side, because they probably would have just gone straight through the bridge jumping up so fast.
It was a very strong stream of piss. Maybe he's got a very powerful sphincter muscles. I don't know.
That becomes like a displeasure cruise then, right?
I really need that to be like a Japan does like fucked up superhero movies, just like Fart Girl and all those Mother Meatball Machine. But there needs to be one where it's a guy who's like stream of piss is so strong he can like cut through concrete. That would be awesome.
Oh man, Netflix would totally pick that up for a 10 episode run. Mm-hmm. So yeah, not a good day to be in Berlin when you're getting pissed off by a stranger. So yeah, I just thought we'd start off with that show, and before we get into the games, but let's go ahead and start talking about some of the stuff we've been playing. And Dan, because it is your birthday, we're gonna go ahead and start with you.
Hell yeah. I've been playing a few things. One of them I can't talk about because of embargo stuff, so I'll save it for next week. But The thing I've been playing as a backup to talk about here on Podtoid is Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl. Because recently I wrapped up watching, Stalker, the HBO series, and I needed something that fitted the bill in terms of a game, and then that was that. And Stalker is, to this day, I think, one of the most unique first-person shooters out there, because it's such a weird game with design choices that I still haven't seen really replicated all that well. As an example, there's this one segment later on where you go into these underground labs, and up until that point, the game is kind of your typical open world-ish first-person shooter affair. You're going around just more or less getting into gunfights constantly and finding stuff for people. But once you go to the underground labs, it kind of shifts into a horror game for a brief moment in kind of a really brilliant way. There's no enemies down there, at least that shoot at you. So the whole time you're just kind of wandering around in the dark. There's spooky hallways with strobe lighting and really good sound effects and sound design. And then at some point you'll notice objects will start floating in the air and then randomly get thrown at you. Mm-hmm. And there's an enemy in the game known as a poltergeist. You can't see them, and basically they do that. They pick up shit and throw it at you. And if you get hit, it's one-hit death. If a barrel comes flying at your face, you're dead. So the game kind of teaches you this mechanic from the get-go by showing you, basically you walk into this long hallway and you see a barrel rise up in front of you, and then if you're in the doorway, it won't hit you. So it kind of explains that to you right there and then. And then as you're progressing throughout the area, you'll enter this giant open area full of boxes and barrels. And just that initial fear of being in a room full of boxes and barrels in the dark, it's something. So if you haven't played it yet, Stalker is a series worth checking out. Unfortunately, it's only on PC, and it's also pretty buggy and crash prone. So
now you said that you got done watching the HBO Stalker series. You mean Chernobyl, right?
Yeah, Chernobyl. That's what I meant. I wish there was a Stalker series.
Have you seen Tarkovsky's Stalker from '79?
I haven't, but I've been meaning to watch that because I hear it doesn't obviously follow everything in that, but it's pretty true to the source material in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's considered a real classic, by a lot of people. I haven't seen it myself. It's nearly 3 hours long. That's not the reason I haven't watched it, but that's a commitment to such a dour, to such kind of a dour film. But a friend of mine whose opinion I rate highly, he finally got around to watching it, and he'd been wanting to watch it forever, and he watched it and he hated it. And that's so weird because it's considered one of these it's considered a masterpiece. It
ends on a really creepy note of showing a nuclear power plant in the background. Well, it's not really a spoiler. It's just the ending scene. They're walking away, and in the distance, there's a bunch of nuclear power plants, which is telling.
But it's interesting that this whole franchise is still popular, and so I haven't watched Chernobyl, but I know everyone loves it, right?
Yeah.
Well, love is a weird emotion to express for Chernobyl.
Respect.
You know what I mean. What I mean.
Everyone seems to be depressed by it, is what I'm saying, because it's just so harrowing.
Yeah, Stalker itself isn't necessarily based after the events of Chernobyl. It is, but basically in this universe, another event happened in 2006, where essentially, to sum it up, basically scientists were there doing some science things for whatever reason, because they figured no one will come search for us in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. And they did something that caused basically all sorts of hell to unleash in terms of different dimensions and mutants and anomalies and all kinds of stuff. It's very interesting.
That was the one where everyone in Russia farted at the same time, right?
Definitely. That's
how it happened.
That's what caused this. Yeah.
I got to say, my favorite episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy was when he opened a portal to another dimension and let in all those demons. That was some classic science right there.
I always wanted Bill Nye and Beekman from Beekman's World to fight to the death.
I got really thrown because for a minute though, when you said Bill Nye and Beekman, honestly, I thought you meant Beaker from Muppets.
That would be amazing.
Because he's a scientist too, right?
Okay, real quick, just a tangent. Remake The Raid with Beaker.
I don't know about this.
All right, Chris, let's go ahead and move on to you. You posted your review in progress for Crash Team Racing Nitro this week.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty damn good game. I know that a lot of people remember Crash Team Racing fondly, or CTR as the kids call it. And I remember when I was working in a shop, it was kind of like Grand Theft Auto, where years after its original release, it was a constant seller. Whether it was new or pre-owned, it was a game that people would constantly pick up down the line. A lot like the Mario Kart titles, do you know what I mean? It has a long shelf life. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really play it. I've not played a lot of kart races. I played a bunch of the Mario games. I went playing Street Racer on the SNES. And then I played Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing Transformed, which I think is a great game. Like, it was a great game when it came out, and it's a great game now, and it costs like $3 or something. So, but it was really cool to try something else and finally get around to seeing this game that I'd missed from like 99 or whenever it come out. And they've done a really good job on the upgrade, just like Spyro Reignited or Crash Insane Trilogy. Mm-hmm. It's got a really luscious, good looking, like the character models are great. The tracks are really nice and have had all these kind of moving parts added to them and things, you know, the res is up on everything. Everything's textured better. They've brought back all the old music and they've remixed it. But if you want the original soundtrack, you can switch to that as well. So, and I was thinking it's funny because I was looking at these kind of furry characters, and I was thinking of how, like, when Monsters Inc. came out, the first one, everyone was like going on about Sully's fur texture and how good that like kind of fur texture was on that character. Yeah. And it's funny to me now that you can get kind of a mid-price remake of a video game that they've kind of done relatively quickly. And like the fur is almost at the level of like the old Monsters Inc. movies. So it's like something that everyone's kind of, it's not kind of as groundbreaking as it was anymore. And it's just nice to see that on characters. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it looks good and it handles really well. It's fucking challenging. Like, there's 3 difficulty levels, and I was thinking, that's not really a lot, you know. But like, I started on normal, and once I got past the first few stages of like the adventure mode, I was really kind of struggling to finish races first, which is what you have to do in the adventure mode. And at first I was like, well, it's because I'm trash, you know, because I'm trash at all video games. You're just going to have to deal with that. But it turns out that like everyone else is saying the same thing. So it seems like if you put it on easy, you fucking breeze through everything. Mm-hmm. But when you step up to normal, after you get through those initial races, it's fucking really kind of hard. And there are people on the site, readers, who are saying that they're playing it on hard and they can't get like in top 3 of any races at all, like against the computer. So I don't know if the original was that difficult, but it's quite surprising to have what seems like such a kind of cutesy looking game and then just have it like tear your soul out in terms of its difficulty. But it's cool. It's a lot of fun. I played it online. Online seemed to work really well for me. I hear there's been some problems with the Switch, but I think they've patched the Switch version and that runs better now. And the only thing that's really different is this strange store mechanic it's got, where you earn money in game and then you can buy things at the store like skins and cart bodies and stuff. But the store is on a time rotation, almost like a mobile game. Mm-hmm. So like there'll only be kind of one skin or one character for sale at one time, then every, say, 6 or 7 hours, or that rotates. But I understand that they do that in real currency games because they're encouraging you to kind of panic and spend your money while it's up there. But it's strange to see it in a game that doesn't use real currency. Does that make sense?
That's odd.
Rather than just have an entire buy what you want whenever you want. Do you know what I mean? But for what it's worth, the stuff's quite cheap. You earn money really quickly, and there's things like the skins and the car bodies are really cool. They're not kind of crappy. They're like really nicely designed. So I think it's cool. I don't know if it's a Mario Kart 8 beta. I don't know whether it's a Sonic All Stars Racing beta or even a Team Sonic Racing beta because I haven't played that. But one thing I was saying to my friends was, you know, I play a lot of Siege and I play a lot of Mortal Kombat, which is like the most stressful fighting game in the world. And it's really funny to be playing a game and like your heartbeat not to be going so fast and you not like being really angry at what's going on. And God forbid you're like having fun and being entertained, like without being shouted at or having people give you shit. or getting fucking teabagged or whatever, or being like, that's bullshit, that's fucking bullshit. But actually just being like, whew, all the color, the sun's shining, there's these cute characters. I don't know, it's a different experience for me. Video games are serious business.
Is it better than the Mortal Kombat kart racer in Mortal Kombat Armageddon?
Oh, yes, yeah. It might not, it's not as good as combat chess.
It's a debate.
It's been a long time since I played that Mortal Kombat kart race. I've forgotten all about that. Is it in Armageddon? I think it is in Armageddon. It might be in Deception. No, it's probably in Armageddon. I think
it's in Armageddon because it was on the Wii, because that's where I played it, and that was the only Mortal Kombat game for that generation that released on a Nintendo console. So,
that kart race was bogus because you couldn't be Sindel in it anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, but Sindel's ruined now. So who wants to
ruined? I tell you.
Yes, ruined.
Yeah, I know, an 11-minute video just getting over that algorithm. An 11-minute video told me so.
Damn.
Okay, for my part this week, I've actually been playing, a lot of games. I have a few reviews coming up soon, ports, and then also all that shit I played at E3, which I can talk about later, I guess. But I want to just touch on Harry Potter Wizards Unite right now. This is the new mobile location-based augmented reality game from Niantic and Portkey Games, based on the Harry Potter universe. And the last time I played a Portkey Games Harry Potter game, I did I gotten people mad at me for what I wrote about it. So thankfully I don't have to do that this time, because this is basically just Pokemon Go, but with Harry Potter. I just moved into a new town, so this was a really good way to get me out of my apartment to go exploring. And thankfully, it is hot here, but it's a dry heat, so it's easier to manage than if it were a humid heat and I would just be dying on the street. So it is a lot like Pokemon Go. There's little locations all around town that you go to, you check in. In this game, there are inns that you go to get spellcasting power that you use when you find these confoundables that are trapping these foundables, and there's explanation in the game of what that is. And instead of throwing a ball to try and catch them, you're tracing a little pattern on the screen in a certain amount of time, and the pattern actually disappears after a few seconds. So you have to memorize what it is and do your best to trace it as exact as you can. And if you do a good enough job, you'll free the foundable, and then the confoundable will disappear. And there's a lot to it, and I wrote my review in progress yesterday for it, and I'm going to do a full review sometime this week. But I just want to say, will always be a bigger Harry Potter fan than I ever will be a Pokemon fan. That's just who I am. No matter what J.K. Rowling does to the franchise from here on out with her terrible movies and awful tweeting. But I got to say, there's nothing in this game that matches the kind of magic of seeing a Pokemon on your map and seeing a Pokemon with an AR camera. Like saving Ron from a giant spider 4 or 5 times, because you have to do it at least 4 times in order to fully, quote, free him. That doesn't have the same effect on me as when I go out and I see a Pikachu or a Raichu or any other of the chews. I don't know why I can't think of Pokemon right now. But there's nothing from Harry Potter that I thought, oh, I would love to see this in the real world in augmented reality. And I think that is the thing that this game has working against it, is that seeing a symbol on a screen and then tapping it and then being taken to some little spell casting event where you either have to free someone or fight a dark wizard or a weird creature. It just doesn't have the same effect as, looking at your phone, seeing a Squirtle and then catching a Squirtle. And I think pretty much most other video game franchise AR location-based games that model after this, Minecraft, Yokai Watch, Dragon Quest Walk, they're always going to have an upper hand on something like Harry Potter Wizards Unite or the Walking Dead game or Garfield Go, because seeing relatable video game characters in the real world is always going to be more interesting than random wizard from Russia, whom I have freed like 4 times now playing this game. So that is the one thing that has working against it. I think that's why it's probably never going to be nearly as popular as Pokemon Go or possibly even Ingress, which was the first Niantic game to use the formula. But they have supposedly a multi-year storyline plan for this, so they're in it for the long run. And as of right now, it's getting me out of my house, it's getting me walking, it's getting me exploring. Because as I found when I moved into my new apartment, I've gotten really fat, so I need to get outside, and it's doing that for me.
I was trying to ask, so you're not like catching monsters or anything like that? Because I feel like with the recent movies or whatever they're called, there would be all these like different, Fantastic Beasts. That's it. I figured there'd be all kinds of like Harry Potter themed creatures and stuff you'd go and find.
Well, there are Harry Potter themed creatures that you find, but the gist of it is that there is a wizard who set off an event called the Calamity, and there are these confoundables, which are, I guess, like evil spells or evil creatures that have trapped foundables, which are famous Harry Potter characters, creatures, and just magical items from throughout
Garfield.
Yeah, in Garfield. Throughout time. So like the Ron Weasley that I'm rescuing, he is part of the Hogwarts Heroes group or Heroes of Hogwarts group. So it is the Ron Weasley as he was seen in the movies in that time. So this is like year 4 Ron Weasley. The game itself takes place after long after the final book in the series. And it is very, very much reliant on the film series. Harry Potter character looks like Daniel Radcliffe. Hermione Granger looks like Emma Watson. Ron Weasley, I haven't seen his character outside of the Foundable that I have rescued 4 times. But that looks like Rupert Grint from the series. So Professor McGonagall looks like, why can't I remember her name? Dame what's her face?
Maggie Smith.
Thank you, Dame Maggie Smith. And the person doing her voice, it is, as I wrote in my review in progress, it sounds like Dame Edna doing a groundskeeper Willie impression. So then there's like the soundtrack is all from the movie as well, or from the movies. It has the intro of the owl flying through the air towards the logo. So it's really, really, really reliant on what you saw in the movies, which is a good and a bad thing. Well, it's a good thing because it makes it more relatable. I don't necessarily know how it's a bad thing, other than I'm probably eventually going to have to see people and characters from those awful Fantastic Beast movies. So,
well, the only thing I was going to say about it was kind of what Dan said, which was I was confused to what you were actually tracking down, because I was like, if you're not tracking down Pokemon, are you essentially tracking down anomalies? But you kind of explained that. But I think an interesting thing about this is I'm not really a Pokemon fan. Mm-hmm. But I could have been convinced to play Pokemon Go. I'm also not really a Harry Potter fan, but I'm not going to look at this app. Does that make sense? It's like even if I'm not a massive Pokemon fan, there's enough about the characters and the way they look and kind of the cuteness of it that I could have been drawn into playing Pokemon Go. But if you're like, you get to save like these human characters from, I'm just like, I don't give a shit about that.
So idea of like, go catch Ron Weasley like 4 times.
As opposed to catching like Bulbasaur or Raichu, or I can't think of any Pokemon either.
There's only 890 of them, and we can think of a total of 4.
The only one I know is fucking Gardevoir, and I'm pretty sure she's not in the game. So.
She's in Pokemon Go.
Is she? Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to start playing it then.
Wait. The only one worth getting is a Low and Meowth.
Yes.
Because it looks like Garfield.
Do you think you're going to stick with it?
Yes, I will. At least for a couple of months, just as an excuse to go walking, to go exploring the town. It's not a big town, so it's not going to take me that long. But all right, enough about that mobile game that no one is playing. Let's go ahead and move on to Charlotte. You have Dino Crisis?
Yep. I don't know how to describe my experience with Dino Crisis. So I started it a long time ago, and this week I managed to get from about a quarter of the way into finishing it in the space of a couple of days, just because I was on deadline for my other podcast. And I had a thoroughly miserable time playing it because I did not know where to go half the time. I'm not the cleverest person when it comes to things like, old school Resident Evil, action exploration type games. So I was just baffled the entire time and using a walkthrough a lot to, figure out where I was supposed to go and what I was supposed to do, and flinching whenever there was a dinosaur on screen, even though I don't find dinosaurs normally as scary as zombies. It made no sense. I was not having a great time, and yet now that I finished it, I really want to play it again. I don't understand.
Right.
I mean, I think because as I was playing it, I was just so tense, and that's why I didn't enjoy it, because games that make me tense, my first reaction is, I'm not enjoying this. I want to play something else. But once I get past the tension and I think about my actual experience with it, it's a pretty good game. There's a lot in it to enjoy. I mean, some of the puzzles are really I would not have got some of the puzzles without looking at a walkthrough. But I think, it's a Shinji Mikami game, and it shows. It's pretty decent, and I do want to replay it to get one of the other endings, because there are 3 endings in total, and they're vastly different. So
I heard from my ex-Black Ops associates that you got yourself into a position where you almost saved yourself you almost saved your file in a place that rendered the game uncompletable for you, because you'd saved with minimum ammo or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't... The thing is, I've done that before with games where I've felt like with Resident Evil 4 for sure, the last time I played it, I had no ammo, and I was at the chainsaw dude stage, so I was like, I can't do anything. I have to start again. But I think I was panicking a bit too much because of being on deadline, because I did have 9 rounds of various things saved up, and you really, when I talk to other people who are playing the game, you have to try and avoid using ammo anyway. It's you'll rarely be in an encounter where you absolutely have to use ammo. You're often better just running past. So, right. And also I figured out I wasn't using the storage boxes properly. I didn't realize they were linked. So as soon as I realized they were linked, suddenly, because I'd opened a green box already somewhere else, and now I was opening another green box, I could instantly access the first green box by going to the second one. So, yeah, and also just coming across more things to unlock those boxes got me out of a tight spot, because suddenly I had a load of grenade ammo. I was like, yoo-hoo! So, yeah, I definitely want to try it again on normal, but I've heard that easy on Dino Crisis is very easy and normal is hard. Kind of like I've heard Resident Evil's similar, that it comes across as quite unbalanced because easy's too easy and normal's too hard. But...
So the 3 endings to Dino Crisis. So I assume 1 is you escape and you live and all that good shit. I guess the bad one is maybe the dinosaurs get loose. I never played the games. I never cared to. But the third one is, and what I'm really hoping it is that you go into this bathroom and you turn on the faucet and you wash your face. But when you come up, you're a dinosaur. But you have a lady wig on and people clothes, and then the game just ends.
And then to add to that, the raptor starts saying, or I'm assuming you turn into a raptor. It starts saying Alan. And then you wake up and you're in Jurassic Park 3.
Oh, you see, I kind of got Occam's joke, but then the laughter stopped because I didn't get yours.
Yeah, I usually do that, so it's common.
By the way, the bad ending to where the dinosaurs get loose, they're actually let go by a clone. Oh, no, fuck, this is a bad joke. Never mind.
You were going into a worse movie with a worse joke.
So, Charlotte, you've also been playing Professor Layton?
Yeah, not a lot to say about that, really. It's a great time. I really enjoy. So actually, there is a bit of a compare and contrast I can do with Dino Crisis and Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask, which you would not expect them to have anything you can compare. But so the puzzle aspect, Dino Crisis, was interesting, but I wasn't really super getting into it. And I'm usually a puzzly person, so I was like, what's going on here? And I think just having it in a live environment where you have to run between places and you could get attacked on the way is just kind of not my bag. Whereas with Professor Layton, you can just like play your 3DS, sorry, what am I talking about? 3DS. And you can sit in front of something else and you can solve the puzzles in your own time, kind of like solving pen and paper puzzles in a word search book, which I also sometimes like to do. So that's way more my speed. And obviously it's nowhere near as tense as Dino Crisis, I should hope, since it's Professor Layton. So yeah, I'm playing that. I'm probably going to get it done pretty fast because I'm just having such a great time. But I'm having more of a good time with that than Phoenix Wright, which I'm kind of surprised about. So I always thought Phoenix Wright was one of my favorite series, but actually I'm getting way more into Professor Layton right now. So
Occams, let's go ahead and wrap up with you. You're on Final Fantasy XIV. Is Shadowbringers out yet?
No, next week. I had pre-ordered it, so I think next Friday I get early access to start playing. I did finish up the main story quest that bridges the last expansion to Shadowbringers. I finished that up Friday, which was wonderful. I tweeted this out, and I've said it to folks on the site before, but it's a shame that Final Fantasy XIV isn't brought up when people talk about the best games in the series. It's got an amazing like main campaign story that had it been its own like single player release as a game, would have just knocked it out of the park. To me, it's a hell of a lot better than a lot of the more modern iterations of the series. Great characters. And my only complaint about it, well, there's some filler bits, but there's always filler bits when it comes to MMOs. I wish that all of the cutscenes were voiced, and all the important ones are, and they have really great voice acting, but sometimes it's not, and you miss it because they're really good, like I said, really good voice acting. So yeah, it's fun. It's my cycle, I go through, I play to catch up in the main story, gear up my character, get ready for the next expansion. I'll be playing this probably until, I don't know, August, maybe September. And then I'll put it away for another 2 years and come back to it. But it's a treat. It's just such a well-made game. There's so much love in it, and it's fun to play.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, that is it for games, but we have some headlines to cover. It is time for the news. And right now we are in a post-E3 lull, so there isn't that much big news coming out. So we're actually going to start our new segment with something we would have done last week if we had a show, and that is touch on our favorite games of E3. I was at this year's show and had a chance to play some of them, but you can't play them all when you are working. And it was a pretty interesting mix this year. A lot of big games, obviously, that you've probably read about, seen trailers for. A lot of neat little small games as well. And I just want to hear from Podtoid team of which games and trailers from the show impressed you the most. And Chris, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, because I'll probably be the shortest. E3 is like a blur to me. Like we all spent that week working really fucking hard, and we got on top of everything, like we always fucking do. I didn't expect us not to, but sometimes when you're firing on all guns like that, a lot of the details pass you by. A lot of the news passes you by. There wasn't really a lot for me, to be honest. I appreciated what I heard about Modern Warfare. It sounds like an interesting game and really fucking horrible as well. You know all about that. You played it, I believe.
Yeah. No, I didn't play it. I watched 2 videos. They didn't have a
you watched
hands-on demo.
That's it. It wasn't. It was a
off
captured demo, wasn't it? Yeah. And I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk, which is an obvious thing to say, but it just feels right up my alley. I like the world they're showing. I like the nihilism of it. I like how garbage like everybody and everything looks in there. I love how they've got this world that's filled with all this amazing, incredible technology that everyone's got access to, but all of humanity has apparently gone fucking backwards, which is just like, that's just an advanced version of what we're doing in real life. Do you know what I mean? We don't fucking deserve the tech that we've got. We're not like capable of handling it, and that's just going to get worse. So Cyberpunk lets us see how people are going to get worse, but they're going to have this incredible technology in their hands, which is, I just find that theme fascinating. I trust the story. to match up to it. I like the Witcher games, so I trust CDPR to write a good story. And as long as the gameplay itself doesn't get too bogged down into the minutiae of the details. So, like, I like the Witcher games, but I don't like that you've got, like, you know, you have your two swords, you have your defense sword and your attack sword, and you have your oils, and you make your oils, and you oil up the swords. And I know that's part of what makes those Witcher games those games, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be playing Cyberpunk if it's like you have to like craft ammo, and the ammo is like different kinds of ammo for different kind of enemies. I'd rather they put the details into the world and the characters and the missions, and they just hand you the vehicles and the weapons to deal with them, as opposed to, you know, I don't really want a lot of micromanagement in it, other than maybe the implants of your own body or something like that. I'm really intrigued to just seeing how the game turns out. And the only other thing I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure Occams will join me in this, is fucking Corpse Killer, of all things.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that takes me so far back. I remember renting a fucking Sega Saturn from Blockbuster, and I rented that because it was FMV, full motion video, and it was zombies. And I was blown away at how awesome that was. I was like playing a movie. And it looks like dog shit now, but goddamn, it's like just a Roger Corman film you play. I mean, fuck that. It's like a UA Bowl film you play. I mean, it's just so good and stupid. And I love that these are getting a new lease on life, even if they're just like dumb nostalgia collector's items for assholes like me. So,
are you gonna pick up the limited run? I've got a version coming up, haven't they? So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I actually have the Sega Saturn version somewhere.
Oh wow, okay.
Will 100 years ago, but yeah, I'm all their FMV games I'll buy. Absolutely.
For anyone who hasn't played it, it's just like this terrible rail shooter from I think 1994 that was on the Mega CD and I think also the CD32X. But it had film stages, and then they kind of superimposed over the top FMV zombies. Now, when the graphics looked terrible back in the day, it kind of blurred together because everything looks bad. But now it's in HD. Those fucking zombies really stand out in front of those backgrounds. It looks fucking awful.
It's so clearly like four guys in 3 different zombie masks, and they just they were just recorded like wiggling. And so that's all they do, and they just come at you on the screen. And there's the actor who plays like your Jamaican concierge driving around the island. Right. Who's like, "Hey man, the zombies are here, Bubba Clot," and that's just it's so bad. and
I wasn't going to do the voice, but no, you're absolutely right. It's really like it's 1994. Cool Runnings had just come out, and it's really like. Let's do what Jamaican people are like, and the guy in it's awful. He's horrible. It's kind of painful. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's. I think that's going to date harder than the zombie makeup, to be honest.
But the guy who played the evil doctor, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he the like insane dude in Ghost on the subway, just pushing Patrick Swayze around?
Yes, it's Vincent Schiavelli.
Thank you.
The actor's name. And basically, he's an actor who's left us now, but he's like the final boss in this game. And if you ever wanted a man to play a vulture, that's like the guy you'd hire.
Yeah. He looks like he. I don't know if he was ever young. He looks like he was bored. He looks like Abe Vigoda's second form.
Kind of like, I always think is Christopher Lee still with us?
No. Sadly, he was like 100 though and did everything, so he's good.
Yeah, he released a heavy metal album when he was 98. So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Charlotte, what about you? What was the trailer or game from E3 that you most impressed you?
Well, I don't know if impressed is the right word, but I'm really looking forward to Watch Dogs Legion now because. I really, 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 really liked Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 1 is a pile of absolute hot garbage that needs to be catapulted into the sun, but Watch Dogs 2 is brilliant, and any excuse to play as a granny bashing people who are xenophobic and horrible is brilliant. I will grab that with both hands. So, yeah.
That sounds very cathartic in 2019.
Yeah.
I have to hand it to Ubisoft after their our Far Cry 5 isn't political in any way bullshit that they came out on stage and name dropped Brexit in building up this game. So either they're finally getting it through their heads that when they make the games like they're making, they do have a political slant to them, and they just have to admit it, or they've finally given in to the people who are telling them that. So either way, it was nice to see them pull a 180 on that, but
they didn't admit it. Right? Like they came out on stage and name dropped Brexit, and then in interviews on the floor were like, "There's no politics in this game."
Oh, see, I didn't see any of that.
They're still pulling that card, and it's just like, are you serious? It's something.
Oh, then I take back everything I just said, and god damn it.
That's my biggest worry, is that like the game is going to have nothing to say despite this setting and tone.
Watch Dogs 2 had a lot to say, even if Ubisoft, I don't know because I played it long after it released for the first time, but if Ubisoft was saying that was not political, then they are talking absolute bullshit, because that was an extremely political game. I don't care what they say, but as long as the game itself, even if they're not going to come out publicly and say, oh, this is anti-Brexit or anything, just the game might speak well for itself, even if Ubisoft are too chicken to admit it. So
I think that's exactly what it is. I think they are just chicken to admit it. Like I know for a fact that people like making these games have statements they want to make. I think it's just Ubisoft PR being like, hey, let's not bring that up. So
other than when we bring it up.
Yeah.
Well, they'll have a count. We could say Brexit once. And that was the E3 plan.
I like the collector's edition has a nice like mask helmet thing. I don't think it's worth buying brand new at all. Those collector's editions rarely are. But like aftermarket 6 months from now, pay $30 for that. Have fun.
Yeah.
Charlotte, I've got a question I really need to ask you, because you brought up Watch Dogs 3, which as a fellow Brit speaker, you're the only one who can answer this. Don't you find when you see something that's quite intense or quite like dark, like they're trying to do with Watch Dogs 3, but then you hear people talking in British accents, does it not pull you out of it? Because it always does me, and I don't know why. There's always an element of cringe to hearing like video game characters when they're like going, "All right, mate," and it always makes me like, it's a video game. Sometimes it even happens in films when it's really broad accented. So when I was watching that like 20-minute video they were showing, I was like almost cowering in my seat at like those people going. There was one word that they kept saying. It wasn't wanker, but it was something like characters kept saying. I think it was like tosser, and they were always like, "You listen to me, you tosser." And every time I hear that kind of thing in a game, it always makes me like squirm a little bit. I don't know if you. No.
Not really. I mean, it is a little bit odd because I'm used to hearing the various shades of American accent, US accent in games and film. But then again, I have played quite a few, like Professor Layton, for example, sort of very limey accents. And also Nino Kuni, same. Right. Doesn't really pull me out. It might give me a bit of a chuckle, but I don't find it off-putting, really. I think it depends. If the game is literally every 5 seconds, tosser, 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 maybe that might be a little bit off-putting. But
that was dangerously close to ASMR right there.
If anybody says twat, I'm going to laugh my head off and probably get completely pulled out. But
There was a character in Batman Arkham Origins, who was one of like the Penguin sidekicks, and she was basically this woman who they'd given like an EastEnders style gimmick to, and all of her lines, every line of dialogue was like, "You Muppets, fucking better listen up now, you numpties," and every line had like 3 specific words that are like, "This is what the British say." And it was so hard. I can't remember the character's name, but try and find videos of her. It's so funny.
So apparently all British people speak like Ray Winston then?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Dan, let's go ahead and go to you. What out of E3 are you most excited for?
Most excited would be Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Probably most impressed would be Cyberpunk, but to add on to this, I'm not going to go on on and on and on about Cyberpunk. Yada yada. Keanu Reeves. Go read up Cyberpunk 2020 stuff. Like just Google Cyberpunk 2020 Wikipedia and read up some of the lore in that stuff. It's incredible, and I can't wait to see some of the factions in this game. But that said, moving on to Bloodlines 2, I'm pretty excited for that. I feel like they captured the tone of that first game really well, and the new setting of Seattle looks really interesting. But if I have any kind of complaints, or I wouldn't say even advice or anything like that, but maybe delay the game till Q2 or something, because they are putting this out in Q1 apparently, which is right around the same ballpark as Cyberpunk, and I'm just like, that seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, maybe aim for a summer thing. Don't look, guys. I mean, you released the first game the same day as Half-Life 2. Maybe learn from that lesson.
Yeah, it would be a good summer horror game.
Exactly. Make it a June thing around E3 again. I don't know.
May was pretty empty this year to release it in May next year.
Yeah.
Occams, what about you?
All right. Let's see here. Obviously, Corpse Killer. Talked about that. Cyberpunk, of course. Yeah, that's the Witcher people doing a Cyberpunk game. Fuck yeah, that's a given. And with Keanu Reeves, who I think is just a gem. That'll be fun. And but every E3, as I've wanted since I was watching these things when I was a kid, I want to get that hair standing up on end, tingly, oh yeah, this is why I love video games moment. And it happened for me with the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, with the gameplay and all, just going back to that world, back to that place. And suddenly I was that kid again, playing it day one. We got it from Babbage's, all that fun stuff. And it made me happy. And there are a shit ton of unanswered questions just about how this game's going to work. And will it be released in a timely fashion? Will we all be alive to see it finished? But that moment, watching that trailer, it made me real fucking happy. So that was my game.
Nice. I guess I'll just go ahead and talk about everything I played there. So my role at E3 this year, this was my second E3, was kind of just a runner. So basically anything that we knew that was going to be big, I had to run over there and play it and write about it as fast as I could. That's why I went and wrote about that Star Wars arcade cabinet from Arcade 1UP. That looks really fun. Oh, and by the way, just a really quick side story on that. I don't know if I told any of you guys this. When I was over there waiting for them to unveil that this was a Star Wars cabinet, first of all, we knew that it was a Star Wars cabinet, but we didn't know exactly which Star Wars arcade games it was going to be, because the press release that was sent when they did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and Marvel Fighting and Punisher game, it had a line in it that said it was a new hope for arcade gamers. So we knew that it was Star Wars at that point. So I'm standing there, waiting for them to reveal it. To my right is Stuttering Craig with his camera guy, although I don't think he goes by Stuttering Craig anymore. And to my left is this, I guess he is an influencer, because he's sitting there with his phone out on one of those sticks talking to his fans. And I did air quotes there, and I don't know why I did air quotes, because you guys can't see me. And so he's just sitting there talking to his fans, and he's just like, oh my God, I don't know what kind of game it's going to be. What could it possibly be? Could it be pole position? And I'm thinking, they've turned the arcade unit on, and the sheet they have covering it is not that thick. So we can literally read the words Star Wars on the cabinet, and he's just sitting there. Oh my God, I don't know what it could be. Is it pole position? Is it Paperboy? What do you guys think? Hashtag my name. And just thinking, God, influencer culture is such fucking bullshit. What? It's so fucking fake.
If you want pole position, to my understanding, you have to make your way to the G Fuel booth or whatever.
I did not go to the G Fuel booth to see the booth babes and the booth exotic dancers over there.
What about the powder?
Or get any of that powder. But actually, where that was is where the PlayStation booth was last year, and that's
depressing.
And that entire section, the West Hall, without PlayStation there. And this is only my second E3, so people who have gone more times than me will be able to attest to this better. But it just felt so fucking empty because they replaced the Sony booth with nothing. Like, there was a lounge area. I think there was a place you could get drinks, and then there was that stripper booth. The other half had, let's see who was there. Xseed was there. They had a really nice booth this year. Hero Land is I think is going to be a really interesting game when it comes out. It was one of my favorites of the show. You had the Sega booth, which they're really betting big on Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. That was half of their booth. They had a huge little track brought in, like a track and field track, and then they had a rock climbing wall because that's one of the events in the game. I think I saw only one person on all 3 days on that wall. And then you had the Indiecade was over there. I didn't go over there, but some of our former Destructoid guys who have moved on to PR were hanging out over there, Zach and Kyle. And then you had the Nintendo booth. And the Nintendo booth was divided into 3 parts. You had the general area, which had games like Link's Awakening, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I can't remember some of the other games that they had at this year's show. And then you had a third of the booth was dedicated to Pokemon, Sword and Shield. And then you had a third of it dedicated to Luigi's Mansion 3. And this was my favorite booth of the entire show because the entire thing was blocked off and the entrance looked like a hotel. They had bellhops there.
Hell yeah.
It was all very well done. And then you get inside and it is just this darkened, neon glowing room of just a whole bunch of monitors made to look like a haunted entrance or foyer to a hotel. And so they had a desk in the like a check-in desk at the back. Everyone was in themed costumes. They had little sconces and stuff all over the place. It was so cool inside there. Of all the booths I went to this year, it was the one that impressed me the most. And also Luigi's Mansion 3, very fun game. I think Luigi's Mansion fans are gonna really appreciate it. I think it's better than 2, and it might just have the unique ghosts of 1, which is kind of what they needed to do with this, meld those 2 games.
Hey CJ?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you say something as that influencer again?
Hey guys, I'm sitting here and I don't know what this arcade unit is. Could it be Burger Time? Could it be... I can't think of any arcade games right now. I can't think of anything.
It's sorry. That just like when I first heard that voice, I thought you were doing a really mediocre but lovable impression of Vinnie Barbarina from Welcome Back, Kotter. There was a lot of heart in that. I appreciated it.
And so you had, let's see, Borderlands had, Borderlands 3 had a big presence there. The Final Fantasy VII Remake booth, which that was the first game I played. It was small. It wasn't that interesting to look at, but the gameplay was there. It's pretty fun. I'm not 1,000% sold on the game because I want to see how the rest of it plays out. Like you said, Occams. But I guess my 2 favorite games of the show is Luigi's Mansion 3 and Hero Land. But actually, I want to talk real quick about another game that I saw that is also really good and played, and that's John Wick Hex. This is the new game from Mike Bithell. This is like the first video game adaptation of John Wick, and this was really interesting because I wasn't supposed to go see this. Peter Glagowski went and saw and wrote about it, and got it to be nominated as one of our games of the show. And so I had just finished my run-in with, or my appointment with NIS America, and I saw it was at a Japanese or Chinese restaurant that was actually away from the show, and in the restaurant was Suda51, who I interviewed 2 days before, and he remembered me because he waved as he passed by. And so I'm going back to the convention center, and then I just happened to run into Jordan DeVore, who is a member of our team who was there, and him and Brett were about to go. They were going to go meet with someone, and I said I would join them because I know their appointments. So we walk over to this hotel, the Fig, and we ended up in the John Wick Hex staging area. And so they have this little a bar area and a room behind it where they're showing off the game and you can play it. And so I just thought we were going there to casually have a drink. And so we're there, and then we are joined by Max Scoville, who is a former Destructoid writer, now on IGN.
Oh, neat.
And Brian, I want to say his last name's Altano.
Yep.
Yeah, who hosts I think they still host Up at Noon. I don't watch IGN. So I know Max Scoville because he used to write for us. I don't really know anything about Brian, but I'm sure if he's heard this multiple times before. But Max Scoville is very, very fucking tall in person. Like I feel like a child standing next to him.
Yeah, I think he's 6'7".
Yeah,
Yes.
he's a tall boy.
He looks like Jack Skellington and Charlie Sheen did a fusion dance, and you get Max Scoville. Like that's what he looks like. And so we're sitting there, and I'm introduced to him. He's very nice. And then Mike Bithell, the developer of the game, comes out of the little testing room that he's showing the game off, and he wants to show the game off to us. Now I thought that everyone was there just kind of like to drink and hang out, and so I didn't want to like crash on their Max meeting up with Jordan and Brett McDonsky, just kind of reminiscing and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll go check out the game because I really want to see it. So we actually end up, all of us are in there having Mike Bithell demonstrate the game for us, going through his process on how he created it, how he came to this conclusion on how it played, how he absolutely hated the first version of the game that he made. And I know I got to interview Suda51 this year, but this was honestly my favorite moment of the show. And it's probably my favorite moment of both E3s. Just
pretty cool moment.
Being with a developer who is so fucking passionate about his game and being able to meet Max Scoville. That was pretty cool. I unfortunately wasn't able to meet Chad Kolensenko. I can't pronounce his name. But he was there. Conselmo. Yeah, that's my E3 story.
Well, I have one big actually to throw in there. The first game featuring Keanu Reeves' character, the John Wick man, Fortnite. Hello, Fortnite got him first. Just want to say that. That's my influencer voice. Cut this out.
that sounds like it's really cool that you can kind of take those memories away from these events, because I think the thing that a lot of people probably don't realize, and I've not been to anything stateside of to the scale of E3.
Yeah.
But the main takeaway from these events is that they're very hot. Everyone's in the way, and like it's you work a lot of shoe leather, like getting through everything you have to do and looking at your watch, or I guess it's your phone nowadays, like every 2 seconds. So it's always good to come away and just be like, well, I did this and I got this done, and then I had to write this back at the hotel, and et cetera, et cetera. But like I had this great moment with the guys and I got to interview Suda. So it's really cool that you have these memories aside from just all the like work that you put out over that week.
Yeah, it really is. And also I really love seeing journalists in the flesh, because like there were a bunch of people from Australia who were just really hot Australians. Like I'm wondering why they're doing games coverage and not porn. And I'm just like, God damn. But then you see American journalists like who looks like someone fed him after midnight. And I'm just like, ooh.
Wow.
Damn, we're dunked on Jesus.
Jeez.
I'm bleeping his name out, by the way.
You'll have to beat me as well. But yeah, it sounds super exciting, especially compared to what I was doing that week. I was up till like 3 a.m. just editing social media videos that are like 300 views. So well, I definitely don't want to do that again next year.
Yeah. The one difference between this year and last year is because you didn't have Sony there, I think there was a massive drop in attendance. Or maybe there wasn't and it just felt emptier. I heard the West Hall was, there's always going to be people there to go see Nintendo, but everywhere, I didn't have a moment this year where I was like kind of being shouldered and having to push and shove my way through people. That was every day last year. This year, it was so much more easier to get around.
I have to ask CJ, was the nerd stink there?
Oh my God. So I'm waiting in line to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. And the guy standing in front of me smelt like every terrible GameStop you've ever been to rolled into a human being. I could not believe what I was smelling right then. It was like I was back on the streets of San Francisco. It smelled so bad.
And I don't know why it's foolish of me to assume that because this is a somewhat professional event, or there'd be people there who would wear deodorant. Because, a lot of these people are probably going to go interview other folks. And if I was a game developer and my interviewee smelled like somebody cooked a foot inside of an onion, I would just fucking.
And this was during the time on the first day of the show where only industry and media people could be in there, so it wasn't like a normal game fan.
Oh, yeah, so it had to be. Oh man,
this was a guy who worked somewhere in the industry who just smelt like a 12-day-old fart. I mean, it was just the worst.
CJ, like in all the time I've known you, I've never fucking heard you fire so many fucking shots in such a short space of time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say the name again, but damn. Oh, of course, someone calls.
Okay, so
it's like the catharsis of that post-move stress, isn't it?
It really is. Just,
yeah.
I mean, first of all, I'm surprised I was able to find the words without stuttering over myself 100 times like I usually do. But yes, it is just, I've now moved and I'm just letting all that stress melt away into insult about people who probably don't really deserve them.
Yeah, I heard by like Sunday it was like pretty dead due to the lack of Sony being there. So,
well,
any insight on that?
Sunday, the show would either have not started yet or have been over for 3 days.
Oh, okay. I just by like the third day, I suppose.
Yes, the third day was very quiet. I didn't stay at the show for that long on the third day because I had my Exceed appointment and then I had my NIS appointment and then it was off to Mike Bithell land. But when I was in there, it was fairly easy to get around. And the third day is the day that everyone can go in early, not just press and industry. So, I expected it to be super, super busy. It never really was. I mean, my wait for Luigi's Mansion 3, which was probably the second longest wait they had in the West Hall, was maybe 25 minutes.
That's
compared that to last year.
Compared to last year, yeah.
Yeah, compared to last year when I waited 45 minutes to play Spider-Man. So, all right, that's, I guess, enough about my adventures at E3. Let's go ahead and go on to the second story, and it has to do with Fortnite. Actually, let's go back to E3. Epic Games really went all out with Fortnite at this year at E3. The booth was huge. They had a popcorn vendor. They had a dance contest to see how well you could recreate all those dances they stole from Black artists. A lot of the game stations were decked out in neon lights, and like the fucking thing was beautiful and also nearly completely empty every time I walked by it.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it was really sad when it was just media and industry people there, watching the people manning the dance booths, trying to get us to go in there and dance as if a Fortnite prize is something that any of us would have wanted. Because they were practically begging people to go in there.
Was Fortnite? Forgive me for not knowing this, but was Fortnite like? Were they showing something new? Were they just there to be Fortnite?
Just there to be Fortnite.
Well, they don't.
Last year,
like a waste of money.
Last year, Fortnite was huge, though. Yeah. First of all, they have the money, but secondly, last night Fortnite was huge, and also Epic Games sponsored the PC Game Show this year, so they were going to be big at E3, anyways. But they were huge last year. Everyone was running to their booth because they were giving out the coins that you get in the game or the currency. They're giving away $10 of currency in the game, which I don't think is enough to buy a costume. But like this year, I maybe saw a total of people who weren't working in the booth, maybe 12 people in that booth.
I like the idea of like for their big thing is they have popcorn.
Yes, I wanted some popcorn, but they were out when I was there.
Yeah, that's the thing that like local hardware stores do.
I was just gonna say.
So anyways, we found out this week that Fortnite, which is still one of the biggest games in the world, could have never happened if an Epic Games manager got their way. Former director of production at Epic Games, Rod Ferguson, who now heads up Gears of War developer The Coalition, spoke with Game Informer and said that if it were up to him, the game would have never seen release. He said the original version of Fortnite, known as the PvE Save the World mode, did not meet his standards, and if it were up to him, he would have canceled the whole thing. You might remember Fortnite started it out as a cooperative experience before aping the Battle Royale gameplay of stuff like PUBG and H1Z1 and becoming the phenomenon that it is now. Ferguson did say that he is happy for Fortnite's success, but I wonder how he feels about the success of Epic as a whole. Just from going of being another developer to, being the competition for Steam that it is today.
You know what I really liked about the Fortnite Reddit? The people that still complain about that mode, that PV mode, about not getting any updates for it.
Those modes don't tend to last that long because, I don't know if they're still doing that one, but I know the H1Z1, they dropped theirs pretty quickly as soon as, their Battle Royale went big and then died.
I remember when Fortnite originally came out, it was like, it wasn't even a free-to-play thing. Like, you could buy the game, like physical copies of the game. So I just the rare breed of people that bought those copies and really want that mode to get updated, I guess. I don't know, to justify it.
Maybe if they had a bigger PvE mode, there would have been more than 12 people at their booth this year.
Yeah, you're on a warpath.
I mean, they could have had tacos,
Yeah, I mean, Home Depot popcorn really isn't.
That's not a
great motivator.
Yeah, make an effort.
Was it at least close to the G Fuel place so you can load up on G Fuel and popcorn?
Completely different haul.
Oh, fuck that then.
Yes.
It's good if you want to have G Fuel and popcorn in case you want to have diarrhea and an abortion at the same time.
Finally, Nintendo is for some reason still insisting that Nintendo 3DS is alive and doing, quote, well. Speaking with Time Magazine, Doug Bowser, or as I call him, White Reggie, was asked about the 3DS line and gave a super corporate answer about it being a great entry point for younger gamers, low cost of device that comes with the game, yada, 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 yada. I don't understand why journalists keep asking this question. Of course, the 3DS is still alive. I mean, just look at all the wonderful games they announced at E3 this year. God, I can't even count them all.
I mean, you could we just recently had the release of Persona Q2, but when you look at the Persona series on the whole, Persona 4, the original Persona 4 came out on the PlayStation 2 in 2008 when the PS3 came out in 2006. Yeah. So if you're going to use that as a benchmark to say the 3DS is alive and well, then no, actually it's a sign that it's definitely pretty much gone.
If Atlas is supporting it with weird Persona spin-offs, that console is likely dead.
I love my Nintendo 3DS. I bring this up every time we talk about it. Can we just move it on to the legacy device part of its existence so we can stop asking these pointless questions and expecting something other than ridiculous corporate speak?
Yeah, I mean, I play my 3DS every single day practically, and I only really got a 3DS last year for the first time, and I'm having a great time going back on all the games that I missed. But honestly, if they don't bring anything else out, I don't care. I have so much stuff to catch up on, and if I wanted new stuff, I would get a Switch.
You are listening to Podtoid.
We are just about out of time, but before we go, we have the Podtoid question of the week.
What's sarcasm and what's cum?
Sorry, that is not the Podtoid question of the week. This week's question, we're going to go back to E3 one more time. As discussed earlier, there were a lot of games at this year's show that we enjoyed, but there were some noticeable absences as well. I want to know from you guys, which game were you most disappointed not seeing at this year's show? And Dan, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Beyond Good and Evil 2, because I'm scared it's just disappeared into the void for a decade again. So please don't let that happen.
I'm thinking that's a next generation launch title.
Yeah, but they could have been here's gameplay again for 3 minutes. It's not dead, we promise. So we'll have to wait and see.
Charlotte?
Non-serious answer is a game that teaches nerds how chest sizes and bra sizes work.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's you have to do many games, a series of them.
I mean, I am on the end of the spectrum where even I don't fully understand how chest sizes work because I don't know what the difference is between an F and a H because mine are extremely small. But still, oh my God, some of the tweets about how some guys being if she was a D cup, that would be enough for me. I'm I can't verbalize how angry men commenting on chest sizes makes me.
It would be enough for me. I love that. She's just out there offering herself to this fucking nerd.
Yeah. And she doesn't even... I can't tell from the models in the PS1 how big her breasts are supposed to be. I'm sorry. It's just all Lego-looking Playmobil characters.
Well, Charlotte, I think what you're failing to understand is that, I mean, Square is they're changing the original vision and they're censoring it, and I think that's the problem. Is that they are taking away these nerds used to jack off to these dumb pixel characters, and now they're adults who still want to jack off to dumb pixel characters. And when you challenge that, when you take that ability away from them, they get angry and they complain on Twitter and on the internet, which we all know is a very, very viable way to process anything. And just go fuck them. I don't know, whatever. So stupid. Yeah. I am shocked how much I've heard the discussion of some fucking video game titties.
Just take the time to educate yourself, guys. That's all I'm going to say. But Serious Answer is also Beyond Good and Evil 2. And I'm a bit surprised that it has dropped off the face of the earth, because the last time I heard about it, Ubisoft got in a little bit of trouble because they were asking fans to send fan art their way and potentially have it used in the game. And people were like, hang on a minute, that's free labor. Yeah. So the fact that it's dropped off the face of the earth after asking fans to send in fan art to potentially use in the game is a bit weird. But yeah.
Chris, let's go with you.
Well, I only wanted to see one game at E3 this year, and they didn't show it, and it's Shantae 5. So for a game that's scheduled for this year, I was really expecting the first trailer, at least. But I'm not salty about this. As long as the game's amazing, I don't even give a shit if it ends up getting delayed or anything, as I just want it to be a really good game. But I got to admit, I was expecting at least the first trailer for it. Considering it that they've said it's out, that they want it to be out around November, they were saying. So it's like, not even your preview one, but it's fine. If they announce tomorrow that it's not coming out till next summer, I don't care. I can wait as long as it takes just for that game to be great.
Occams, what about you?
Well, the game I wanted to see the most, I knew wasn't going to be there because it was Last of Us 2. So yeah, it wasn't a big surprise there. Kind of a jokey answer, but it will always be serious. Is a new Shadow Hearts game. Just if they can remake fucking Panzer Dragoon just out of nothing, let's give me a Shadow Hearts game. And I guess if it would be nice, continuing the FMV thing, is if maybe like Harvester.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. But yeah, so they're my answers.
So I was a little disappointed we didn't get anything from Bayonetta 3 this year, but actually the game I was expecting to see something from, although I guess I shouldn't have because it's a PlayStation exclusive, would be the other Platinum Games game in Babylon's Fall, because I'm really interested in what they're doing with that. It's supposedly still coming out for the PlayStation 4. I really want to see what that is all about. So that was kind of the only one I was disappointed in not seeing. There are a lot of other games, a lot of Nintendo games that I wish we would have seen, but definitely Babylon's Fall would be the one for me. So that is it for our show. But Occams, you have a community shout out?
Yeah, it's a twofer. All right, first up, we've got there's a thing going on in the quick posts of Hydrationtoid. I think maybe it's looking on Twitter today is National Water Day, which thanks white people. But so the communities kind of pick that up and they're having a lot of fun with it. And I love when they do shit like that. Other community shout out. It goes to the writing team, all of y'all. Being a mod, I get to see kind of how the sausage is made on the back end, but I'm not particularly involved in it in the writing side. So I get to see how hard y'all work getting all these stories out in a timely fashion. And it's like when those marching bands that can make shapes or like a rhombus or something happen. It's like that, getting all these people to work together. Y'all bust your ass, and the community, they know, but they don't know, if that makes any sense, just how hard y'all work. So fucking shout out to y'all for that. Thank y'all.
Shucks. Thanks a lot.
All right, on behalf of Chris, Dan, Charlotte, Occams, and myself, thank you for listening to Podtoid, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify.